Hi, welcome to the first of a three-part series on serving others. It's a part of our discipler group curriculum. I'm glad that you as a layperson are learning about how you can be a better disciple and serve your congregation. Today, after viewing a provocative foot washing clip, we'll hear from Brian McLaren, the founder of Cedar Ridge Church in Burtonsville, Maryland, and an outspoken leader of the emergent church movement, talk about Jesus' view of the relationship between power and justice. He will also push us to consider, how we are using our power on behalf of the good news. I encourage you as laity in the church to think about what Jesus meant by seeking first the kingdom of God and God's righteousness, God's justice. Let me leave you with two questions raised by today's speaker to either ponder or to discuss for a few moments. In what ways is your church using its power, its wealth, its facility, its energy and time, its talents for the good of the powerless? How in sync is the mission and ministry of your church with what Jesus wanted in terms of His justice in the world? Again, thank you for coming. We look forward to our continued work together.
They call me a widow. They call me a prisoner. But you love what is ruined and you choose what is broken. You remember the forgotten. Call me a poor man, they call me an orphan, they call me a prostitute. But I hear you cry out, daughter, I hear you cry, beloved, I hear you cry for me all the time. And you stand there like fire. Restore me like water. I just don't understand this kind of love. You hold out your hammer and you tell me you're a painter, and I am a bleeding watercolor that will still be beautiful when it dries. Beautiful when it dries. When I'm done. It's done like a masterpiece from a master's hand. When it's done, when you're done with me, be beautiful, beautiful. Your hands have stopped their work. Hands have left pieces of canvas on the floor, boulders of stone on the floor. You stop your swinging and your world, and I'm beautiful. Is all that's left, all that's left.
It breaks my heart to see Jesus used by the powerful as a club to beat the powerless into more submission, when the fact is that Jesus came for the powerless, to say that they have dignity in the kingdom of God, and that the powerful, well, they'll be at the back of the line because they've not used their power in wise and good and loving ways. One of the quotes from Jesus has had the biggest effect on my life since I first became a follower of Jesus in my teenage years. It's in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 6. He says, "Seek first God's kingdom and his righteousness. And if you do that, everything else you need will be taken care of." Now, the word righteousness is probably a bad translation, because when people hear the word righteousness, they think religiosity, piety. But the word actually is the word justice. And in other languages, you would quote this by saying, "Seek first God's kingdom and his justice." Justice is the right use of power. The kingdom of God is about recognizing God as the ultimate authority and power. So if we're concerned about the kingdom of God, we have to be concerned about justice. How are we using our power, our individual power as people with wealth, education, jobs, so many advantages? As people who vote in a democracy, how are we voting to use our power as a nation in the world? So this is the right or wrong use of power. Jesus constantly talked about power. For Jesus, power is exercised in servanthood. Power is exercised in love. You know, religion has been around a long time, and religious people are always doing basically the same things. They're arguing about each other for who has the best set of rules and the best set of doctrines. Jesus shows up on the scene, and he's not part of that game at all. You know, there are groups like the Pharisees and the Sadducees, they're fighting with each other. The Zealots and the Herodians, they're fighting with each other. And Jesus doesn't come and just work on the level of their fights. He moves things up to a higher level with this message of the kingdom of God. And so when people met Jesus, they could just tell his whole approach here is on a higher level than anybody else's. The place where I think we in the United States have to face this is it's very tempting for us to take the interests of God and the interests of the United States and treat them as if they're the same thing. What does it mean to be a citizen in the United States and to realize that God doesn't play favorites? And in fact, if God plays favorites, he plays favorites with the weak and the poor, not with the powerful and the rich and the well-armed. If we don't start facing that as Christians in the United States, we could find ourselves playing on the wrong side. Maybe all of us are a lot more out of sync with what Jesus really wanted than we realize. Maybe we've made little turns along the way and we have no idea how far we are out of sync with what Jesus really wants. I think you can contrast the kingdom of God with every kingdom or regime or ideology of this world by saying worldly systems are unified by their love of power. The kingdom of God is about the power of love.